Welcome to the Zompire Horde Podcast. Join us every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, as your hosts, Vlad the Rad and Michelle of the Dead, discuss horror, true crime, and the macabre. Episodes available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Join us, won't you? Hello, and welcome back, all you Zompires, to the Zompire Horde Podcast, where I, your host, Vlad the Rad, and my sister from another Mr. Michelle of the Dead talk about true crime, horror, and the macabre and stuff weekly every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Right here in the Zompire Horde Podcast community page, YouTube, and Facebook.
And 66.6 on your AM dial.
And 66.6 on your AM dial.
David Pratt, welcome.
Oh, yeah, I'm missing on comments already.
Yeah.
Tennessee up in the house.
Hey, Melissa, our number one fan.
Hey, beautiful peach. She streamed it at us, too.
I know. All caps.
All caps.
All caps.
How was your day today, Miss Michelle of the Dead?
Well, I left work 2 hours early because I broke my toe yesterday, and it was just kind of throbbing. You know, the best you can do is like elevate in ice. So I needed to come home and elevate in ice. It's fucking purple. Did you see it? Did
you see the sausage comment I left?
I did. I did.
I did see it. It looks miserable, and I'm very sorry that happened to you.
It's just a broken bone.
You know, that happens. You know what I mean?
Amanda!
I was gonna say that's Panda, ain't it?
That's Amanda. No, Panda's the other one. There's Panda and Amanda. They're two different people.
Right, but I thought Panda was Hayes. My bad.
No, Panda was the one with Carl who was working in the room with us.
No, I know that, but I thought she watched our show, and I, for some reason, thought she was Hayes. I don't know why. Listen, I don't get a lot of oxygen to my brain. I'm not getting a ton of oxygen in my brain currently. My
level okay, I'll give you a pass then. Okay.
Low.
Okay. I'll just explain it to you slowly later.
Sounds good.
So, what are we talking about this week?
Well, Melissa says, I wish I could come take care of you, but you're across the country. I wish so too. Angela, probably not so much, but I wish you would come take care of me as well. Not that I probably would let you. Everyone's been trying to help me, and I'm like, I got it. But tonight we are talking about, people can read around us, the unsolved case of America's sweetheart, as I believe she was referred to, the murder of JonBenét Ramsey.
Ah, yes. The 6-year-old pageant queen, child beauty star.
That's
true. That's true.
That David. Is true. Both and all of you. Oh, we got Luke Tweeds here. Hey guys, what's up, Luke Tweed?
What's up, Luke?
So I first of all, let me just say, anyone that may or may not have been slightly offended or whatever by the images I used with the Disney font, it just felt fitting. Did
somebody say something?
No, but I just
then don't invite trouble. Don't even bring it up. Don't invite trouble.
No. It was just, Angela said it was pretty dark, and I guess I was like, yeah, I get it, but
what is our show about? Dark stuff.
And
dark stuff, dude.
How many times in my life am I going to get the opportunity to use the Disney font?
I think you should use it as often as fucking possible.
So tonight we are talking about the JonBenét Ramsey case. Just a quick little brief. I'm going to read this little intro real quick. JonBenét Patricia Ramsey. She was born August 6th, 1990, deceased December 25th. So Christmas, or 26th, the day after the 26th, 1996, was an American child beauty queen who was killed at the age of 6 in her family home in Boulder, Colorado. There was a 2-page ransom note left in the home. Her father, John, found the girl's body, and this was after the police were there.
So they didn't look in that place in the basement, though. They found her in the basement the next day.
It was, and I believe that they called it a wine cellar. Like the room that she was actually found in was the wine cellar. And when they originally did the run through of the basement, nobody had went into that room. They saw the door, but nobody went in there.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, she makes a good point. Disney is dark as fuck. So maybe I did it exactly right.
I think you did.
But so let's get into it. We got a old, what is it, 1996. So
I was in my early 20s, and this was like you could not go to any store or gas station without seeing like the US Weekly, the National Enquirer, just like all over the tabloids is her face just like plastered everywhere. It was all over the freaking news, and just for years it was like a huge thing. And I was like I said, I was in my early 20s, so yeah, that's, you see that everywhere.
Well, and
it was like a big part of history for people in my age group, I guess your age group as well.
You said you were in your mid-20s. I was only 19 at the time.
I was in my early 20s, so 1990. Shut up.
But yeah, well, I'm sorry, finish your thought. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, that was my thought.
Gotcha. The thing about that whole time period too is during the JonBenét, we didn't really have. I never heard much about the case. Then you must have been in a goddamn box. What's up?
Or too young, sometimes like.
Nah, he's my age. He lives 4 houses down. I know he's probably closer to my age. Anyway, what the thing about that whole case was, if you remember correctly, I mean, at the time, tabloid TV and not tabloid TV, but tabloids were the Facebook of the 90s,
Oh, for sure.
News from,
because we didn't have the social media, we had just began like chat pages and stuff like that, ICQ things, of
I don't even think I had an internet connection in 1996. That was I don't know, maybe 97, 98, somewhere in there. But yeah, so apparently, we were talking Christmas 1995 or 96. And they wake up in the morning, they wake up in the morning, the daughter's missing, and so obviously they find the ransom note, call the police, even though the ransom note said not to. The police come, they do the search, don't find her. Finally, the father goes into the wine cellar, and that's where they find the body. But yeah, and it's crazy because when you think about if this crime were to happen today, it would not have been the news story it was back then. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because of how much information we have to like things going on all over the world, it would have been a small, it wouldn't have hit the news the way it did.
Right.
But back then, because of the her being a beauty queen and all of that, and what I find to be the incorrect thought that the family was involved, blew it up to proportions.
Well, they also were, I think, weren't they a very well off family and had,
Yeah, I don't remember what. I believe it was John was his first name, John Ramsey. Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah, I believe that was the dad's first name, because her middle name was Patricia, which was the mom's name.
Yeah.
That would make sense. He owned a company which he had merged twice, I believe, and then ended up selling for like millions and millions of dollars. And one of the things that I've always kind of like leaned to was not the father being involved, but could it have been something political or like rich people shit, right? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because the thing that struck me as weird is there was they found a shoe mark, and I know this from experience, and I'm going to tell my little story along with this. They found a shoe mark from a boot called High Tech. Back then, High Tech was almost specifically worn by either the police department or military, and I know that because I got jumped by 2 police officers in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. One of them I went to high school with, and I ended up beating them up on like after school at the bus stop, and everyone saw, kind of fucked with him a little bit. So he stops me behind a 7-Eleven walking home one night as a police officer, and they beat me up, and I woke up like the next day, and I shit you not, I had a perfect High Tech boot mark in the side of my face. Not like you could see the brand name so much, but you could definitely see the tread, and I knew what High Techs were. And so when I saw that, I was like, well, fuck, back then that was the cop, that like cops wore those, you know what I mean? So immediately my brain starts going into, okay, was it political? Like who was the father? Who was the mother? What were their ties? Is what I initially started thinking,
Yeah. I don't really know what to believe, like Melissa just said, she thinks the son may have done it on accident, and they covered it up. That was my thinking for a very long time. But when they did the DNA that was found on her body was not anybody in the family's DNA.
So it says Access Graphics was owned by Lockheed Martin, the military defense contractor, sold to GE 97. So yeah, I would imagine he made quite a few millions of dollars for that. Melissa says she thinks the son did it accidentally as well. Since they were rich, they covered it up.
Yeah. So he would have been 9 years old when that happened, because he was only 3 years older than her. Was it a jealousy thing? Because she was getting all this attention and
right. I think at 9 years old, though, do you really? He was 9, I believe, and she was 6. I don't know that
right.
jealousy would have. I don't. That'd be a stretch, and the amount of force. The amount of force would it take to crack her skull, the knot and the what are they called, garrets or whatever that was around her neck.
Right.
There was a lot that I just don't think and after reading the letter, I can't, as a father of 2 daughters, I couldn't imagine writing something like that, talking about. I mean, even if it was a mistake by the son, right? And the parents are going to cover it up. I just don't see the father writing that letter
over and over again about the death. And
she'll die.
She's gonna die. She's gonna die.
Like if it was because if it was a mistake by the son, or if it was happened by the son, he would have been remorseful or not remorseful, but he would have tried to cover it up, sure. But I don't think he would have went to the vulgarity of that type of letter when talking about his dead daughter laying there on the floor next to him,
Yeah. Hey, Ozman.
You forgot Facebook Live again. It should be playing on. While we talk, I'm going to go to Facebook and see what the problem is, because it should be playing in the community page and on the main page.
Okay.
So I don't know why. So we'll have to keep talking. So you and I watched pretty much the same documentary. Yeah. If you're on the main page, it's playing right now. I'm watching it. And maybe they're talking about in the actual. I know what's going on. Okay, so we watched the same documentary, which is more of a documentary about Lou Smith than it was. I mean, it was about the case, obviously, but it was really about this a retired detective.
He was a DA.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, he was a detective at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was a DA.
And he had retired, and then they asked him to be a part of the investigation. That the DA's office asked him to be a part of it. So he was technically working for the DA.
So it was more of like a separate investigation. There was a bunch of things that he found that were never really looked into, which makes me kind of think, kind of lean towards the intruder side too. But I don't think it was a random intruder. I think it was an intruder, somebody that knew them.
Yeah,
and knew that how to get into the house, where that window was, they can just crawl through without, showing any forced entry signs.
Naked Alien or Oz, I just looked on all of our pages on the computer and they were playing on all of them. So I don't know why that would be. If you want, I mean, obviously you're commenting, so you're on our YouTube already. I don't know why that would be happening. But I will look into it and see why. But you can always catch us on YouTube. We do go live there as well, if that's works better. So Lou Smith had 40 years of law enforcement. I don't know. I didn't get the breakdown. I think it was about 20 years as a beat cop, 20 years as a detective. He also worked for the coroner's office.
That's right.
I don't know if he worked there, but he did. He kind of trained there, and so he kind of had a little bit more, insight as to like the body and some of those things that happen. One of the things about watching that too, I'm going to throw up a picture of him. This dude is one of the most legit dudes I've ever heard of in my entire life. Yeah. Like after hearing the whole story about how he wouldn't even accept an ice cream from John Ramsey. John Ramsey tried to just buy him.
Well, because that can be seen as a bribe.
Well, for sure.
To sway you, and even if it wasn't anybody else who would have heard about it would have said, "Oh, he's bribing him," blah blah blah.
No, 100%. But at the same time, it's like, something so simple as buying someone an ice cream. It could have just, I understand it being construed differently, but for him to just have the brain to be like, you know what, like, and not get paid for it for the whole 20 or X amount. I think it was like 15 years he worked on that case. He was never paid for it. And then basically passed it on to his daughter.
Right, right.
The other
That's
cool
how
thing about
passionate he was about trying to solve this thing.
right. The other cool thing about that guy was he had 200 solved cases out of all 200 of them. I think it was like 200 plus. Like not a single one of them, every single one of them was convicted like 100%.
Right.
So
He was that good.
Thorough as shit.
Good.
Yeah.
So,
I've never done anything 200 times and been done it right every time.
I mean, maybe you haven't. No, I'm just kidding. I am curious to see what our listeners think. What are your guys' ideas and theories about who killed Jonbenet, and why haven't we caught the killer yet? That's what I want to know.
It was OJ. Yeah. Hi, Michelle. My Facebook was I'm here. Sorry, we're rolling a joint. Sorry, I missed the beginning. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here, and we're glad you have a joint.
Woo-hoo!
Unsolved Mystery says Butler pantry door on the north side of the house was found ajar. The following morning, there is a crime scene photo of it, and they did bring that up in the documentary that we watched. Like I said, we watched the same documentary. I did some research otherwise, but that was a really great documentary.
That was a good one. It was like from a totally different point of view.
And I totally like seeing the boot scrape on that side wall. So like, the question was, could it happen, right? Like, could people get in through that window? And Lou basically went there, pulled up this metal grating, climbed down in there where the window was open, climbed in the window, got down. You could see a boot mark where somebody would have slid down, right?
Right.
So then he made sorry, my dog just woke up and started to shake his ass right here. Well, then he made a good point too, where he says that, that where the placement of that suitcase was and the fact that there were like the fibers inside, that they were trying to get her out of there. And so obviously I think like they wrote the ransom letter before, that she had, before they had tried to get her out of the house. When they realized they couldn't is when they killed her.
Yeah. It's like, well, shit.
If I don't, maybe someone in the notes or in the comments can tell me, they kept showing two pictures of the burn marks from the taser.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wondered, because they said that she was tased, so the
Twice.
idea would be she had been tased in the bedroom, brought downstairs. Then the neighbor, heard the scream, which the parents didn't hear on the third floor above them. But there was that open pipe which led to the outside.
Yeah, there was an open vent that went to the outside that pointed at the neighbor's house.
And so the neighbor heard it, and she said it stopped immediately. And so I thought I saw two sets of those taser marks. So I thought, it had. So yeah,
it's like she woke up, screamed, tased her again.
Right.
Yeah, totally ransom gone wrong. Completely ransom gone wrong. And I can't fit this briefcase out this window with the body crammed inside, so I'm just gonna leave everything here.
Melanie Stanton was the neighbor. Man, we need to get one Unsolved Mystery on our show. They have all the answers. Like, I forget to write down a lot of stuff, so I'm just like, I got notes and everything.
Yeah.
And then she's like, hits me with the Melanie Stanton. I'm like, son of a bitch. One of the other things I wanted to point out about Lou, because I appreciate old rad dudes, but the fact that when it came to the grand jury and they were basically like, come and testify or you're like going to go to jail, and he's like, because they wanted like basically all his information, and he didn't want to give it up because he knew that the Boulder Police Department was essentially just going to like get rid of it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and for their own.
Which is another reason it gives me like thought to believe it has to be somebody within the government or the police department or something of that city, because they went so hard at the family. They wanted it to be the family so bad. They're willing to screw off the whole rest of the investigation. Any lead that they could have
had. Why are they like discounting the evidence found under her nails and other places of her body that was of a male that wasn't anybody in the family's
even
DNA.
A part 2 where they were saying, that it had been a bedwetting. She had a bedwetting episode, and Patricia, the mom, I think she went by Patty, but that she
got frustrated
and like beat her or whatever.
Yeah, but there's no evidence of her wetting the bed that night.
Well, they said it was because that she had peed her underwear in her legging or her whatever long johns. But the fact is when you are murdered, or when you die, you can release your bowels. So maybe she didn't go number 2. Maybe she had a full bladder, and that's why her pajamas were wet. But when Lou Smith looked at the bed, he's like, it's not wet. Like you don't see a wet spot. So why would it be that the mom would, do this? Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
So, oh wait, here we go. Unsolved Mystery says could have been between tasings or the garrotings. They both happened twice. Okay. I think it was strictly someone who wanted money and found out where they lived and then fucked up, which could very well be. The Netflix, though, honestly, we both have Xfinity, I believe, and we just said JonBenét Ramsey in our remotes, and it was the first one that popped up, and I believe it was on like the History Channel or A&E.
It was like Discovery Plus,
or something like that. Yeah.
I couldn't find anything else though. Nothing else popped up. YouTube. I mean, I looked on Netflix and Amazon Prime, and there's not like really a whole lot of.
One of the other interesting things that was mentioned, I believe, by Lou or his son was that 98% of the name or like the calls that came in for leads were basically thrown away by the Boulder.
Oh yeah, they didn't even listen to most of them.
That's why.
What kind of investigation is that?
Right, which is why I believe that there's more.
It goes deeper.
Well, and then like who thought to take a taser for a 6-year-old little girl? That's not
somebody who has a taser and police issue boots.
Right. Because why else? And that's why I'm so hard on why the why are the police so like adamant about?
Because they're covering it. They're covering up.
There you go. So the pee was only on the front of her long johns and the outside door of the wine cellar where the pipe was. So yeah. So I mean, like again, like when Lou was talking about how this is a guy who for 40 years dealt with criminals, dealt with the criminal mind. You know what I mean? Like the dude smart. It was something he was very, very good at, obviously with 100% success rate.
Oh yeah, he definitely had a gift for it.
200, you know what I mean? And so when that man says the reasons, not just he doesn't believe, but the reasons he doesn't believe,
right?
They were the killer.
He backs it up. He's got
100%. Like I'm like, dude. And the crazy thing is when I was a kid watching this case kind of unfold,
right?
For the most part, I was 100%. It was the dad. It was the dad, and it's always been the dad. And then obviously, as we get older and we move on in our lives, we kind of forget some of those cases of those unsolved cases because new ones pop up. But now going back into it, listening to more of the information that's come out and things like that, it makes you think about, was this a family that could do that? And like I said, after reading the letter and what it said about his daughter's death, there's no way on earth. Well, they've already said the dad didn't write it. I just still don't believe the mom wrote it, whether it was the son as an accident or she did it because of a pee rage or whatever that is. I'm
sorry, pee rage.
Pee rage.
I'm sorry. Very inappropriate to laugh at this subject, but pee rage is a really hilarious term.
When you get pissed, you also lose your bladder control. I've never been pissed. So I was not aware of that. The Paradise Lost documentary is about the 3 metalheads. No. Wait, Paradise Lost about the 3 metalheads. Are you talking about the what's those guys' names? The 3, Free the 3. They killed, oh god damn it. Well, they didn't kill them. They've been released from prison now. One of the guys' name's Damien Eccles. He wrote a book. Somebody help me out here.
Come on, Ozzy, help us out.
The sun isn't all there, is what Nicole Stiver says. The West Memphis 3. There you go. Thank you. I don't know if I've seen that documentary. I have seen a few. I'm a big Alkaline Trio fan, and those guys did a lot of work trying to get them released and things like that.
Maybe we should watch some documentaries about that.
Yeah, no, it's actually a really interesting case. One also that I still believe is obviously unsolved. I believe is obviously, that doesn't make sense. But I'm 99% sure.
It's okay. His oxygen levels are low.
My oxygen levels are low. But that is a really good case. There was a lot of musicians and actors and stuff that were backing the
Brian.
Sorry. Yeah, Brian High. Brian High again.
Brian High again.
But yeah,
Flying high again.
we could do an episode on that. That would be a really fun one. Actually, side note, for the Zompire box, when we were doing true crime boxes, I actually reached out on Twitter, I think Facebook, to Damien Eccles to try and secure an autograph for one of our boxes. But unfortunately never got a response. Let's see. We got my mother and I love those documentaries. They were fucked up and fascinating. The father, who was thought obviously did it first, died several years back. Oh, you're talking about the West Memphis 3. Thank you very much, Unsolved Mystery. We appreciate that. Well,
who is that? Do you know who that is? Who's that?
I don't. I believe they're watching from YouTube, so I'm assuming they also have maybe a true crime channel. We'll have to check out.
It's not Russ. Wasn't he supposed to join us today?
He said he may. I sent him the link, but obviously he didn't come.
But well, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning there, so I mean.
Right. Well, no. Only
yeah. So why don't they? Is this case still open?
This is. Oh wait, what are we talking about now?
We're talking about Jonbenet.
We've gone back to JonBenét Ramsey. I was going to go to the fact that the family. It took 12 years for them to exonerate the family. So, and it was actually posthumous, or however you say that term, for the mother, because she died in 2006, and they were exonerated in 2008. And oddly enough, her and Lou Smith both died of cancer. Unfortunately, we lost both of them. And that's one of the things that was kind of, at the end of that documentary, one of the most painful aspects of that, just the documentary, obviously the whole case is bad, but was the fact that he went into this case and fought for it for so long, had the $200 or 200 win rate. And then this was the one that got away. He died before he could finish it. It was that was kind of the bummer part for me.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I think they should delve back into that. Somebody who's got the money for it, because that shit's expensive.
Well, and one of the guys that they thought could have been the killer was a guy named Michael Helga. Have you looked him up, or did you look?
I have not. So you're gonna have to enlighten me.
So I believe he lived remotely close to her, and he was a 26-year-old. There was a kind of a tape confession where he had said that he was going to. He was talking to a friend of his, a coworker, I believe, or an employee, and he said something to the effect I wonder what it would be like to crack a human skull. And the guy was like, wow, that seemed weird that he would say that. And then apparently there was some recording where he had admitted to doing something. I don't know if it was the exact murder or what, but he admitted to killing JonBenét. But he was a few months later, somewhere in 2007, he had committed suicide, and they think that it could have been him and another guy that did the murder was kind of the original thought. Then that guy came back and killed him, because when he was found, there was a gun. Let me look at my notes. So,
well, why don't they just do more DNA testing?
Well, let me finish. Hold on.
Okay.
The hole was on the left side of his head. The gun, the hole was the gun was on the right side of his body, but the bullet hole went from left to right, so it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so they thought that maybe he was killed and made it to look like a suicide, and that it was his partner in the JonBenét crime had come and basically offed him to keep his mouth shut.
Right.
And then I don't know if you know who this guy is, but I gotta bring up this picture because
that.
Well, okay, actually, let me rephrase. I shouldn't say he has since come out as transgender. So her name is Alexis Valoran Reich, formerly known as John Mark Kerr. He was the teacher who in Bangkok, Thailand, confessed to killing JonBenét Ramsey in 2006, I believe, is when he confessed. And it turned out that it was basically proven that he didn't do it. But I remember that him coming out, and it's always been, I mean, if you look at this dude, she looks like, excuse me, I did that again. She looks like someone that would have, you don't go to Bangkok, Thailand, unless you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. Let's just be honest. We all know that.
Yeah.
If you're a white guy and you're by yourself in Bangkok, Thailand,
nothing good is happening.
You're not doing anything good.
No.
And so when he came out and said that he had done it, I think everyone in the world believed it. You know what I mean? Like, there was no way. You know what I mean? Like, you had to just understand that, like, that was the case. That's what had happened.
Yeah.
Until it was proven otherwise, you know. But like, who on earth comes out and says they did that? Oh, and apparently he's a part of some, like, or she's I keep doing that. Apology.
Well, that's because you're showing pictures of when they were male.
Right. She was a part, or is a part, of something called the Immaculates, was it just like an underground child porn thing. And a lot of people have said too that she transitioned in order to become closer to her female victims.
Oh.
Okay, we got some other information here. Lived at his uncle and aunt's junkyard. John Kennedy was the eyewitness guy. He was suicided on 2/14/97. There have been so many people who've come forward for murders they didn't commit because of the fame. That's very true. Alexis Reich. So yeah, so that was that was the one that when I heard that. There's been other people that have come out and said that they've, you know, murdered JonBenét, and pretty much all of them have been proven to be bunk. But that was the one that I remember coming out, and I think the whole world took it to be serious at first, until she was like basically proven, like, you didn't kill this little girl, you're just crazy and fuck off.
Yeah. So whose DNA is on the body?
And that's the other thing that makes me think that the cops or government has something to do with this, because, and I'm not trying to be a theorist or anything, like one of those, like the government's out to kill us all, but why aren't we testing it again? And the other thing,
that's what I want to know.
If we've tested it already and that DNA sample hasn't come up, this is only since the 90s. Like, I don't know if at the
this
time,
person's in the system. They're in the system.
I don't know if at the time people in the government or police or military were subject to getting DNA testing done prior to them being hired on. Do you know what I'm saying? So whereas now you would need to take a DNA test in order to become a police officer, I don't know if in mid-90s that was a requirement.
I have no idea.
DNA testing was relatively new at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Naked Alien says, "I'm sorry, I don't know enough about the JonBenét. I will watch the documentary."
Yes,
well, that's why you're here to learn with us.
Yeah, yeah, we're learning too.
But 100% agree.
Like school, Monday night school.
They need to go back in and look at and do some more DNA testings. There's also, from what I understand, there was also several hundred items taken from the house that have still not been tested for DNA.
Right.
Unsolved Mystery says the BPD
Boulder Police Department
will make them look real bad. And I think that's 100% true.
Absolutely.
They already look terrible. You know what I mean? Like, with the fumbling of it all, it's hard to get past how bad this was handled by. I feel like if this was literally happened anywhere else in the United States, it would have far been solved.
Yeah.
It has to make
here we are.
Right, which has to make you think why they're so adamant about keeping it under wraps. Healthcare workers have their fingerprints in the system. He or she is in the system.
Oh, for sure.
But Melissa, was that the case back in like the early mid-90s? Did you guys still have to do DNA testing back then? Oh, fingerprints, she said. Sorry, I said DNA testing. Fingerprinting, I would imagine, yeah, because that's a pretty old. I mean, we've been doing that since like the 40s and 50s and shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay?
I don't know when. I don't know how long it's been. We've been doing fingerprinting for a long time. What?
Are you having a stroke? What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Are you having a stroke?
Is your foot throbbing?
It is.
I bet it is. Have you iced
it? Huh?
Have you iced it?
Yes. Yes, that's why I came home early, for ice and elevation.
So that's one of the things I'd like to look up in retrospect to this case, is whether or not, honestly, you know, because I think that's a big deal. I think the fact that the taser, and also like the nodding on that Garrett, I'm believing is what, if I remember correctly, is what it's called, the thing that was around her neck. That wasn't, whoever made that knew what they made. You know what I'm saying? Like
that was like Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
101, you know?
I don't know if that 9-year-old kid was in Boy Scouts, but I mean, that looked like a professional job. If you were to ask me, there's no way in hell I could have made that knot. Not that I'm a knot guy either, but I just wouldn't have known what the hell to do. Over time, it'll be possible to get DNA matches at a higher rate. Even if people are convicted of crimes, they aren't necessarily in the system. Which is true because not all crimes do they take a DNA sample.
Correct.
People are getting matches easier because of DNA mapping from other family members. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the crazy thing is I feel like I heard a story recently where they just convicted like a 96-year-old guy because he was like a Nazi German, like worked at one of the death camps or whatever, and they literally just caught him, and it was like through a weird DNA thing. He had changed his name and everything. Wow. They couldn't find him, and they just found him. He's like 96 years old.
Yeah,
that's wild. Like with the stuff that we're able to do with DNA now, and like, you know what I mean, when it comes to crime specifically, like it's so you better get electrolysis over your whole body and like remove your finger. And even then, it's like you're probably still going to get caught. It's crazy to me though that they didn't find, you know, because they said that she had been sexually assaulted. That they, did they find semen? Do you remember? And then even with that.
Then they said it was not anybody in the family.
Right.
So, I mean.
The Golden Gate Killer was caught that way too. Which way? With DNA? The Golden Gate Killer leave DNA? That's the thing about killing people. And I like, you know, I'm really interested in true crime stuff, but it's like watching it over and over again. I've come to the realization, like, you're not going to get away with it. Like, you know what I mean?
You're going to leave something. There's going to be like a thread or a cat hair, you know, that stuck to your pants that you leave at the scene.
One solved mystery says matching DNA found commingled with her blood in her panties on 2 spots of her long johns and under her fingernails. She got a piece of the a-hole that did.
Oh, this. No semen.
No semen. It's just like, I mean, I don't know how DNA mapping and all that shit works, like how you find people. But like, someone has to get this one.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, the family tree website where you submit. Oh, so like those ancestry.coms. Mm-hmm. Wow, what would you do if like, or not what would you do, but like you can kill some girl in like the 70s and like your granddaughter or now like fucking goes and gets like their family lineage done and figures out that you're fucking killed somebody.
You're like, thanks a lot, granddaughter.
You're like, dude, that'd be so fucked. Like,
you're out of the will,
right? So we wanted to tell you guys too. Next week, I'm moving this weekend coming up. To anyone that knows, I've been looking for a house for quite some time. As a matter of fact, I believe it was this morning. I got the Facebook notification that said, you know, like the memories one or whatever. And it was 1 year ago today that I found out that my landlord had sold the house or was selling the house. And so it was fitting that I went to the court office today to like deal with the final aspect of it. And finally, we're relinquishing the house and moving this weekend. And so therefore next Monday, we won't be having a show, but we will follow it up the following Monday as per usual. I'll have a new little background studio going on. It'll be much better, well lit. Because I always feel like your side's like super bright and fun. Mine's all dark and like, you know what I mean? Like,
I have like 4 plant lights and a ring light in here. So
there you go. I turn all my lights off and like just keep orange, like Christmas lights and LED lights, you know, so it's all orange in my house all the time. But I was actually thinking like when I moved about doing like a different color. I think I might do purple or blue. What do we got here? Oh yeah, so one solved mystery says the Boulder Police Department refuses to do genetic genealogy. And again, which just makes me more and more believe that there's something there. They're right. Like it's got to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, a relative of the Golden Gate Killer gave a close match. You're in the won't?
Well, that's because I said you're out of the will. If you're not in the will, you're in the won't. Come on, man.
I know. It's Bay.
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
Hey, yeah. So if anybody wants to send Vlad a housewarming gift, send him oxygen.
Somebody told me too that they have these like little things you can like breathe oxygen now. You know what I mean? Not like
oxygen in a can of O's.
No, I was gonna say not like a thing that you got to wear, like I'm gonna have here shortly, but it's like a little can, like straight oxygen. I'm like, yo.
Are you talking about whippets? Because that's not oxygen.
No, I know that's not oxygen.
Oh God, that would really fuck up your lungs, wouldn't it?
What's that other stuff that like makes butt sex better that you sniff?
I don't know, Vlad.
I'm like, I want to call it crackers, but I know that's not it. Yeah, I'd have forgotten. Oh, poppers. There we go.
There
no
you go.
Poppers, no aerosol, no whippets, none of that. So what are we going to talk about in 2 weeks?
Don't you have a guest?
I do. Oh yeah. So with let me see if I can bring it up really quick so we can talk about. So we can tell everyone can do a little research this time as to what the next show.
Right, because you guys are going to have 2 weeks until you see us again together in this platform.
And
I'll miss you.
We're going to have a guest. Yeah, I know it's going to be weird having a week off, right?
I know. We're still going to video chat then. So.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'll supervise and help you move. I'll be like, that goes over there. That goes over there. Put that there.
So I'm like going to put everything in the center of the room and then, oh, here we go.
You're going to Jenga all of your belongings.
Right. Well, I need to paint the walls.
Oh.
Yeah. Here we go. So I found it. So our guest will be Mike French. He actually lives in Colorado, near the JonBenét thing. And when he told us that's what we were doing, he hit me up. He said that there's a documentary called Finding Kendrick Johnson. So it's the Kendrick Johnson case, and it's apparently pretty local to him.
Okay.
And he's got a lot of information on it. So we're gonna look up the Kendra Johnson case. Who was that? That was in here earlier. Unsolved Mystery. Is that something you're familiar with if you're still watching?
Wait, Kendrick Johnson or Kendra Johnson?
Oh, son of a bitch. Now I got to go back.
God damn it.
Dumb bitch. Hold on 1 second. I will. Maybe somebody in the, I think it's Kendra. Let me see.
Because I can't look it up unless I know what I'm looking at.
Yeah. Well, wait, did I pass it? No. So what are we going to do about your toe?
Let it heal. I heal really fast though, like Wolverine. So I'll be walking on this in a couple of days. It'll be fine.
Finding Kendrick Johnson is
Kendrick.
Kendrick.
Okay, that's what I wrote.
Is the name of the documentary.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Unsolved Mystery is not familiar with that one, but Unsolved Mystery will definitely have to come back in 2 weeks and watch it and talk with us. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go watch Unsolved Mystery's channel. Oh, yeah, Melissa Volan. We can't leave her out of the loop next week because, remember, she'll come look for us.
Oh, yeah. You're going to have to post something ahead of time next week. Say, hey, folks, just a reminder, we're not doing our podcast this week because I'm fucking moving. Unless you guys want to come and help my ass move, then don't bitch about it. Yeah.
And don't forget to join our Facebook group. You can go to facebook.com/groups/Zompire Horde Podcast, where we do giveaways, talk horror, true crime, macabre. We do raffles. The
raffles are fun. There's some really good stuff on there.
Yeah, for sure. I did a Munsters raffle today.
I know. How did that go? I was at work.
It was good. David Pratt won down in Tennessee.
Nice. Good job, Tennessee.
Good job. We also go live every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. And we typically go live on our YouTube channel inside of our Zompire Horde podcast community page and the Zompire Horde main page.
Don't we have Spotify too?
We were doing, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot.
Apple? Don't we have Apple and Spotify?
Yeah, Apple Music. So if you don't watch us live, I need to redo all these now.
Yeah.
So we are also on Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. If you want to listen to us like on the way to work, while you're washing the car, you know what I mean? In the background while you're uglies with your whoever, you know what I'm saying?
Knocking boots.
So with that, I will say thank you guys for tuning in as always. Michelle, anything?
I just hope that we find out who killed JonBenét.
Let's find out
someday.
The unsolved case of JonBenét Ramsey. Thank you for tuning into the Zompire Horde podcast. Welcome to the Zompire Horde podcast. Join us every Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, as your hosts, Vlad the Rad and Michelle of the Dead, discuss horror, true crime, and the macabre. Episodes available on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Join us, won't you?